The morning show. We're live here Friday, 7 a.m. here on Facebook, Twitter, Twitch, YouTube. We've got things going on in TikTok land, and we also got a Clubhouse panel where we've got some folks ready to get the day kick started. By the way, that's what's going on with this show. We want to help you kick start your day. All right, you've got to have some anchors, some things that help you get your day going the right way. All right, we don't want to talk about what's happened up to this point, or maybe you're even watching this later, right? You're not live with us, but you caught this maybe when you woke up and you're like, man, I don't know about today. Dude, watch this. Watch this, because we want to give you great ideas, things that inspire you, things to get you thinking. Look, you're one great idea from changing your whole perspective this day. You just got to have some things that'll get you going, get you rocking and a rolling. I'm looking here on Facebook, and we got Aunt Boo in the house. Good morning to everyone. Her name is Becky, and we were able to connect yesterday on TikTok. And Becky, you're awesome. Thank you for hopping on this morning. But so we're going to do things a little bit different today. All right. So I was talking. Typically, what happens is we've got the Facebook stream going, and we end that, but we still have some conversations going on in Clubhouse, which that's why you should probably join Clubhouse, because number one, you can speak into things, and you can also be a part of that after conversation. But we were talking with Martinez, and just the different aspects of attitude, and man, it was so great. And I said, dude, would you just set the conversation, because you can kind of see what we do every day. Basically, I'm going to set a topic, a conversation, a question, an idea, a thought, and then we just dive into it. And the benefit for us, and hopefully for you too, is, man, it gets us thinking. It gets us thinking about the right things, good things, big things, positive things. And so for us, it's kind of like a renewing of the mind first thing in the morning with some good folks. So Martinez, I'm going to turn it to you, and here's what I want you to do. I just want you to, position this conversation wherever it's going to go today. We're going to be here for the next 20 minutes or so. What's going on? What are you thinking about today?
Well, first of all, good morning, everyone. I mean, happy Friday. And,
Yes.
every day starts with an attitude of gratefulness and an attitude of, oh, what a beautiful morning. Oh, what a beautiful day.
Oh
I
yeah.
got this beautiful feeling everything's going my way. Yeah.
Son, what are you
Yeah.
quoting there? What is that?
I don't know. The Good Morning Show or whatever. I remember
Yeah.
that guy used to sing that all the time, when on the way to school. And I was like, man, that guy seems always chipper.
Yeah, man.
So everything's going my way. It's a beautiful morning. But yeah, we talked about attitude yesterday, and and we got a great conversation. And I was just thinking about how, there's so many ways to dissect attitude, and we kind of talked about attitude as altitude, and
Yeah.
and there's the way I look at it. There's a lot of ways to look at it, by the way, but there's that
For
attitude
sure.
where that we're all familiar with, that person that's up or down.
Hmm.
One day they're okay, the next day they're blessing you out, or but not with blessings.
Isn't that
And
a funny phrase? Blessing
yeah,
someone out. It's like, well, they ain't blessing me out. They cussing me out. I don't know what you.
right,
That ain't
right, right.
blessings.
And they're kind of moody, and it's kind of like they're with they're in the wind, so to speak. You don't know where they're gonna, and their attitude is impacted by circumstances and that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
That's one part of the attitude bucket. But there's another attitude that I kind of want to talk about, and that's the more settled attitude. Like, for example, teams like to have an attitude. Like, some like basketball teams or football teams.
Yeah.
Oh, they're soft. Or
Yeah.
back in the day, the Detroit Pistons were known as the bad boys or
The
something like that.
bad boys.
The LA Raiders,
Yeah.
most football teams, they have those little mascots, eagle, tiger, lion. They want to create that attitude of toughness.
Yeah.
and I'm not sure if anybody's ever seen that movie on Netflix, The Crown. Did y'all ever see that?
Is that a show? Like, is it like a series?
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah. I
yeah.
think Brittany's
It was
watched that a lot about the Queen and all
it's a
that.
series. Yeah, the monarchy and that kind of
Yeah,
stuff.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
And yeah, and so if you've seen this, I mean, it's like it's called The Crown, but the idea is that the crown comes before everything. There's all kind of uproar in people's lives. There's marriage, there's divorce, there's people stepping out on their wives, there's drunkenness, but
Yeah, yeah.
the perception of that the people must see of the crown
Mm-hmm.
must always be like respect and hold with great and high
Mm.
regard.
Yeah, yeah.
So I say that to say that the crown itself has an attitude with it. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
Or a point of view. And so, and with that, with the teams and that kind of stuff,
Hmm.
um, what attitude that do you have? Like,
Yeah.
what attitude would you like to have for team? And I'm not asking you all, I'm trying to put you on the spot, but like, what attitude would you have for your family? What
Yeah,
attitude would you
sure.
have for the way you are perceived? You know what I mean? Uh,
Absolutely.
and where does that attitude come from? You
Hmm.
know what I mean?
Hmm.
How do you sustain that attitude?
Okay. Okay. I like this. I like this. So here's what I'm just gonna dive in if that's okay. So
Yeah,
so
wear it out.
like I like what you're saying because you know well there's two facets to it. Okay, so like great example like with the Grant, like using that cinema to kind of make a point to say, okay, hey, look, a lot of stuff going on in the background, but there's a focus on making really it's an intention. That's what the word came to my mind is. It's the intention that you are setting in order to create that perception. Okay, now obviously in that example it's like, hey, we're putting forth a false perception, right? Like, man, we're having to fight to keep things together, and we're
Absolutely.
kind of covering stuff up and da da. But like, I will tell you this: there's like, when my mind goes there, I think to myself, okay, number one, I do think that you have to have like a target in mind, an intention in mind to say, this is the perception I would like to promote. I'd like to give off that kind of vibe, so to speak. Which I think you pick that up from people that inspire you, content that expires you. I hope I don't expire you. Inspiration, like, so you're kind of conditioned by some of those things. But like, I would say this: I think the challenge when it comes to perception, and like, okay, I guess here's the idea: it's a lot easier to be authentic than it is to portray something that's not real. You know what I'm saying? Like
Absolutely.
like I think you're going to find that people, and that's typically, I think that's what happens with people that they kind of implode, they kind of quote unquote burn out, and then there's some kind of a moral failing of some sort, and now there's all this collateral damage. It's because they were trying to project something that they maybe truly weren't. And I'm not saying that in a like, I think people get a little judgy about that. Like, yeah, you're not a real, like, dude, they're a person, right? They just wrecked their lives.
Right,
It's
right.
not time to start pointing fingers. It's like, dude, that sucks. You know what I'm saying? Like, and granted, depending
Right.
on what the situation is, I mean, granted, there's there's consequences, and there's all of that. And I'm not saying that just be all happy clappy about that stuff, but I'm just simply saying I think it's a lot easier to go to work on yourself and project an authenticity than it is to not work on yourself and just try to promote something that you're not. Like you know, I'm not like, I think, okay, let's just talk about it. I think sometimes in the church we do this a little too much. We want to we walk in, I'm blessed, I'm favored, I'm all these things, But dude, let me tell you, you're inwardly hurting. You're inwardly struggling. You're inwardly like, you know what I'm saying? Like things are, and so
Right.
now there's this, you're not, what's a good word? You're
Being
not,
authentic.
yeah,
You're
you're
not
not authentic. You're not
walking.
coherent. Like I'm not saying like to the flip. I think some people walk in and man, they just tell you like, bro, I don't need to hear like that's not the point. You need to trust leadership with, you know, you need to trust people with that stuff that's going to help you. But the point is, there's this fine line, this parallel between who I am and who I'm becoming, and pulling both of those up at the same time. That's just something that came to my mind. What's
I
y'all's
think that
thoughts?
I think you're. Go ahead, Lucian. I thought I heard you say something.
No, I'm good.
Okay, so I actually I love that, and you're absolutely right. There is, as it relates to the crown example, and even with the, as far as the football teams and team mascots, they might be, the team might be 0-10, having
Mm-hmm.
lost 10 games, and every game their fans are raising up number one finger.
Mm-hmm.
We're number one.
Yeah,
We're
yeah,
number
yeah.
one. Well, actually, you're not.
You're
I mean,
not. You're delusional.
you're right. Right. And so there's that. It's like, okay, you're not being authentic. I mean,
Yeah.
and that's what we want to walk in. We want to walk in authenticity of who
Yeah.
we are.
Yeah.
And I mean, because if we don't want to mimic, we just want to be true to thyself. Be true. But
Ooh.
like, the thing that's interesting is like there is attitudes out there that like that we have that but and and they're that are true, to whoever we are, and we don't have to kind of like, mm, make it up, or not live in the integrity of that attitude, or and so, like,
Yeah.
with that said, like, for example, we have attitudes toward, and this is a different way of looking at it too. There's attitudes that we have toward, um, you know, like policy in the country. Attitude toward taxes.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
There's attitude toward certain people that are in our lives, or certain groups, like,
Yeah.
you know, and so, good or bad, those are attitudes, and those attitudes a lot of times are formed by information that we receive, or direct experiences.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so my thinking is that, w- that at the attitude that we must have as people toward
Mm-hmm.
other people has to be like an attitude of compassion or forgiveness, a attitude of you know we need a one-stop shop for attitude. You know
Yeah.
what I mean?
Yeah. 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 Well.
Because, like,
Yeah.
if attitude comes from just us, from one source, like, a traumatic experience
Mm-hmm.
might create your attitude of life. And
Yeah.
if that's your source, then guess what? It's down the dark rabbit hole from there. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
there's women, there's people out there. All men are bad. And then there's all
Right.
women are bad.
Right.
And so,
Right.
like, what is your source of attitude?
Yeah.
You know,
Well,
you know,
I'll tell you this, okay? Because I love this because you're like, because we're kind of hinting around this. I don't know if we're seeing it or not, but we're kind of talking about the things that affect the attitude.
right.
And a mentor that I love his content. It's always super helpful to me. Uh, he says that it's philosophy that informs your attitude. In other words, what you think about, what you believe, like those factors affect that. So, like, to your point, you were talking about it. You got a football team, they're 0-12 and their fans are holding up signs that, we're number one, we're number one. It's like, no, you're not. You're not. And he talks about that. He said, look, affirmations are powerful. We talked about this the other day.
Yeah.
Affirm. He said, but you must affirm the truth. He said, affirmations without disciplines are delusions.
Right.
Because
That's good.
there is this level of, like, yes, I'm thinking about where I'm going, but I'm a realist. You know what I'm saying? I'm a realist, y'all, right?
Right.
I've got to put in the disciplines to get to the future self. I can, like, I can affirm and write things in a journal. I am, I've achieved this, I've done this, I am. You could do that, but if you don't have a lifestyle that is supporting those affirmations, you're actually lying to yourself.
Right.
And I think when that
Absolutely.
happens, you're just not a it's not coherent. I'm there's a word that's like, it's like tip of my tongue, and I can't think about. I just can't think of it. But anyways, yeah, bro,
Congruent.
that's congruent, my man. I knew you'd pull it through. Martinez is an educated man. He's got these
Dude,
words
I
and
tell you,
ideas.
my
I love
mind about
this, man.
exploded. And my mind about exploded. I tell you, I had to go to use the restroom to get that one out.
Boom!
Yeah, not a good picture. Not a good picture.
Word of the day, congruent. But that's the truth, man. You know what I'm saying? Like, because the truth is, but that's why I think writing those kinds of stuff down are important, because if you're a person of integrity, when I say integrity, you understand, congruent, right? When you write those down, the next question you should probably be asking yourself is, okay, how do I make those statements true now?
Right.
You know?
How do I walk that out?
Yeah. Like because now I've put it out there. I have committed that idea to paper. Therefore, I've kind of, in a sense, I've made it real. There it is. Okay, great. So how do I follow? It's like, I'll tell you this, it's like signing a contract with yourself. Okay?
Oh, bro, it's exactly that.
Are you gonna hold up your end of the deal? Are you gonna submit to the terms? It's an implied contract, but it has terms, baby.
Right. And then, like, and I used to always had to watch what I say to people, because I remember telling people, and I still do, hey, yeah, have you ran today, or have you worked out? And I'm like, no, I'm going to do it later on this afternoon. I'm going to run 3 miles this afternoon. Oh, doggone it. I just put that out there in the air,
For sure.
And so I just made a verbal contract with them and myself. Now, they're not going to hold me to it, but I got to hold myself to it.
You know you
so
said
I got to
that.
find some time. Right. I know I said that. And
you know you said it.
But the thing is, right. And so it's just like you said, you got to, it's like walking into, don't being delusional about what you say or where you're going, and having some type of, did you say discipline, or what was that you said?
I did. I said the discipline. And by the way, see, I think that is where it's at personally. Like what you're saying, dude, I agree 1,000%, because I've done that too. There's so many times where I have just vainly said, oh yeah, I'm going to do this. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do that. How about this? Of course, yeah, I'll just catch up with it later. I know I said it. And now if I'm not going to follow through on it, which by the way goes back to the confidence question, right? Because now you're not confident, because you just say stuff. How could you have confidence? You know that you're not committed to the things that you say. But this is some biblical wisdom, all right?
That's the old C word, committed.
Committed. Boy. Because this is where, like, it's one of those, like, you have to really, like, I'm reading it, and life kind of helps you put that context in perspective. But that's what Jesus was talking about. He's like, you don't be swearing by the moon that you're going to be doing this, that, and the other. Jesus said, keep it simple. Let your yes be yes, and your no be no.
Be no. Right.
And the power in that is literally, if you said it, do it. If you didn't, don't worry about it. But be slow to speak, but speak with intention. Set the intention, because what happens is you like, oh man, I'm just fired up about this. You are building your own, like you're getting powerful by that little discipline. Like great example, the whole like you just said, going to the gym, right? Like I could get up and say, I go to the gym every day. I go to and guess what? For the most part, that is true. But I still have to figure out how to do that. You know, it goes back to that help conversation. Man, I get help. Dude, I get help all the time. I love the crew that I'm working out with right now because in the morning, bro, I got like my man Charles. I wish he was on here. I need to get him on here sometime. My man Charles hooked me up with a phone call. I got a little bit of a, whatever, and I didn't even hear my alarm, But my man said, well, he didn't knock on my door, but he called me. He said, dude, good morning. That's all he had to say. I love it. He's like, hey, good morning. I know why he's calling me at 3:30, 4 o'clock. I know why he's calling me.
He better not be calling me.
Like he said, don't you call me, Charles. I'm going to have him on his way over knock on your door, man.
At 3:30 a.m. in the morning?
Yeah.
No, sir.
Yeah.
Call the police on him.
Yeah,
right?
yeah. But the deal is, and he's such a great example, dude. He committed. He will tell you, here's the days I'm coming, here's the days that I'm not. Now, is he perfect? No one's perfect, but that goes back to that philosophy. Do you think, like, if you hold people to that perfection, dude, you're going to get arrogant, you're going to be pharisaical, you're going to be like, come on, you're going to be judgy.
Right.
Bro, I know I'm not perfect. Why should I expect you to?
and for all those that are listening, or I don't know who's listening, but just to reset the room, we're talking about attitude, and everything that Jason is talking about, Lucian's talking about, it all goes back. When you're talking about someone knocking at your door and keeping you accountable, and therefore it proves your commitment. As far as working out, and if you put it out there in the atmosphere that you're going to do something, and then following up with what you said, that's all about attitude. That's attitude that says, for example, I'm not going to give myself an excuse. I'm going to keep myself accountable. It's a state of mind that says, hey, I'm creating the life that I want to. I'm creating my tomorrow by investing and committing to today. That's all attitude, But the thing that's interesting too is though it's like, where do we get that? Yeah, we need help in helping us, sustain a good attitude. We certainly don't need help sustaining a bad attitude.
Yeah,
we need
default.
Help sustaining a healthy attitude, right? And so, like, where does that come from?
Yeah.
And it's like, okay, where is your source for sustaining a good attitude? And the question is, like, if it's anything associated with your activity or with someone else, it's going to be short-lived. Because we're as a people, as whether you're dealing with your local community, your family, or if you hold somebody in high regard, the president of the United States, if your attitude comes from them, if that's where you sustain your attitude or whatever, then you're going to be sadly disappointed, because on the most part they're not beholden to integrity or where you want to go. But there is a source out there that is banking on you 100%, 365, 52 weeks of the year, and so that's what I'm trying to get to. It's like there is that one source, and I would just say it. I'll just go ahead and let the horses out of barn. The Word of God, the Scripture, absolutely. The life of Christ is that one source.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
And so, and I don't. You guys just dive in anytime you want to. But here's the deal: we have attitudes about ourselves. We have attitudes about people. We have and there some of them are good. Probably majority of them bad.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
But how do we, how do you change a bad perception? How do you change a bad attitude toward a person? How do you give a person a second chance that's done you wrong? Your attitude toward them is going to be, hey, they owe me money. And every time they walk down the hall or at your job or work, you kind of grumpy, that kind of stuff. And that affects your attitude,
Yeah, no, absolutely. Absolutely.
and so it's kind of the question is like how do you change that? What source in America, what source in the world, what source of your attitude is there that's going to change your perception of that person, give them a second chance, if it's not, you know, the source of forgiveness, of truth, which is God Himself.
Yeah. Yeah, no, absolutely. So, and this is, like I said, this is just my take on this, right? This is my take
Mm-hmm.
on this, because what you're saying is like I try to find the mechanics of it, right? The mechanicals.
Right.
So what you just said is like, hey, look, right now my attitude is being shaped by the Bible, by really what we're saying, which goes back to that idea of philosophy, and that is this: it's what I
Yeah.
believe. You know what I'm saying? What I believe and what I consume. So like for the mechanics, you look at the life of Jesus and you're inspired by that, which by the way, and then, not to get into the weeds or whatever, but I mean, I believe that I'm helped by the Spirit to be more like Him. But that doesn't
Absolutely.
resolve me from my responsibility of pursuing that intellectually. If that, that's why I think it says, that's what it talks about, be ye transformed by the renewing of your mind. So the idea is, look, you've been thinking a certain way, but now that you have met Jesus, you can kind of see that there's not a parallel. It's more like perpendicular, right? You're running
Right.
into the wall, because like you just said, man, how could you forgive someone? Well, I look at Jesus and I'm like, He forgave me, you know?
Right.
And so there's that element of, the lifestyle of that believer, so to speak, is to be changed, which means I have to change, right?
Right.
I thought one way. I thought, dude, if somebody hits me, you're getting hit back, baby. But Jesus
Knock
said,
him
turn
out.
the other cheek. And I'm like, that's going to hurt.
Right.
And
Right.
but the point there is, right? It's about acting in a way that's pleasing to God. Like that's the, and so like those elements there, it's, I'm being informed. And like we just said, like that whole idea, like that is a piece of data that, man, I picked out of the Bible. And when I say I picked, I saw it, because that's, I think that you see
Mm-hmm.
things, you have to get into it and see it. It's like, hey, look, if you knock, it will be opened. If you seek, you will find, right? Like, so I'm looking and I'm like, okay, what am I needing? What am I needed for right now? What do I need today? And that was a something that has hit me, because it paralleled with my life when I saw let your yes be yes and your no be no. Don't be swearing by the moon that you're going to do this, that, and that. In other words, don't be this person that's all theatrical, all that, like, you ever just get into a conversation with somebody and you just know they're bullcrapping you?
Absolutely.
Bro, you don't give a rip about nothing. Like, you're trying to sell me pie in the sky right now. You're not going to do what you said.
Right.
I don't care what you swear by. It ain't happening. But for me, hey, I'm going to tell you yes. But if I can't tell you yes, I'm going to be honest. I'm just going to tell you no, in a nice way.
Right. Right.
Sometimes saying no is the most difficult thing, because you got, right, I got all this pressure, I got to do, okay, hey, it's like, okay, you get an invite, right? I love this, having a good attitude about a rejection. Man, I don't think I can do that, but if something changes, can I let you know?
And that's yeah. Absolutely.
I mean, I'll tell you this, I think a good attitude, by the way, which again, that whole forgiveness factor, I think and the repentance factor, facing the music and admitting that you were wrong, right? That's not intuitive of us. That's not like,
no.
but and that's what I love about, even like, I love it when somebody's like, they in other words, when somebody comes to me knowing that they messed up, they know that I know. You know what I'm saying? This ain't one of those deals where they're putting it off, they're delaying it, it's going to be inevitable, right? I'm not talking about when somebody doesn't know that they've offended me or, whatever, which, by the way, I another little principle. in the Bible, it's better to overlook an offense. You only deal with offenses two ways. Number one, you overlook it, which means I ain't worried about it.
Right.
I know whether they did it in ignorance or not, I ain't worried about it. Or if it is a problem, you need to go to them with love and humility. You know, not this ain't turning into a Jerry Springer show. Let me tell you what he did. You know, like that's not what's going to happen. So this idea, back to your whole point, my attitude, it's being shaped by what I'm consuming. And for us, you know, we turn to the Bible. We turn because there's life in that. There's life in that. And hey, that's where I, you know, if someone disagrees with it, that's fine. Like I don't have to be mad or offended by that. I'm just telling you for me, and I think Martinez, you're telling the audience for you, man, this has changed my life. You know what I mean? Like it really is, and is still changing our lives. You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely. And I mean, you know, you're exactly right. And the thing about it is, it's like, you know, you mentioned, you know, attitudes are shaped by like philosophies and teachings and stuff like that. And you know, and a lot of us don't have enough time to sit down and learn from a book or a teacher or, you know, pastor or something like that. And so what happens is their source for their attitude, again, could be a plethora of things like that are associated with their day-to-day life activity, the way that, you know, what they learned in their household, traumatic experience, the fact that someone did them wrong or whatever. And so what happens is that philosophy, that body of learning that they got from a traumatic experience becomes the source of their attitude. And I'm just wanting to point out that whatever that source is, it only has one goal, and that is to serve its own purpose. You know, and until you're like run into the ground, you know, some people like, you know, I'm poor. I've been poor all my life. That, you know, and you know, they turn around and say, well, I'm that's my source. I'm always, that's their project. They have a poverty-stricken attitude. But then
poverty attitude. That's right.
And then there's others that they're poor and they're like, well, I'm going to make money. And they want to get rich. And money becomes their attitude. Money becomes their source. And see that every road of that ends, you know, it comes to a dead. It has it drops off a cliff. Is what I'm trying to say. Whatever source that is. And so, you know, my thinking is like, you know, you have to have a source that really not just the short term, but in the long term, not just this life, but in a life to come that actually has you at its best interest.
Oh, absolutely.
And so, like, and I'm not trying to give everybody the answer, but it's like, I'm just asking people like to consider the source of their attitude. You know,
that's a great point.
You know, consider where you are, because you know there's only one source out there that is built on a foundation that kind of like doesn't move with the wind, so to speak. And
solid.
And that's and because it doesn't move at the you take a traumatic bad divorce, you know, or whatever that source might, you know, whatever traumatic experience you might, maybe unfortunately a passing or whatever of a loved one or whatever, you know, you could, you know, that could be a source of your attitude, and that could potentially lead to ongoing depression or anxiety or something of that nature. I'm just saying, like, consider your source for your attitude, because your attitude is going to determine the outcome of your tomorrow, of your next week, and very well certainly have an influence around your loved ones, your children, your spouse.
Oh, absolutely. Well, I'll take it, and I think we got to wrap up here soon, but I'll take it that I'm going to concur with you, because something you said a minute ago, it reminded me of this verse. my people perish for a lack of knowledge.
That's nice. Yes.
You
Yes.
know, and to give it just a little bit of context there to what you're saying, you know, trauma is informing your attitude. Ill will against you informing your attitude. Your friends, family, co-workers, your environment, these things are informing your attitude. But the question is, are you aware enough of this to hit the pause button, evaluate yourself, and say, wait a minute, you know, I don't, like, I have to do, there's sometimes like I'll call I'll call Brittany and something has just happened. Now, used to I didn't do this, but now I have an awareness of it. I have a knowledge of it. I'll tell her. I told her yesterday. I was having an issue on just a, you know, it's a minor thing, but I was tired, and I called her. I said, Brittany, I know that I'm tired. Guess what else I told her? I said, Brittany, I know right now my attitude is not good, but I'm just talking to you because I'm trying to talk through it. I'm aware of it.
Amen.
And so maybe help me, you know. So I'm just, you know, and guess what she did? She heard it, and she said, I understand. Let me tell you something. She made me so for me, my spouse became a great source of a attitude renewal. Why? Because she's my helpmeet. She's that person that I can lean into and lean with, and I can trust her not to take me down a bad path. She's going to bring me back.
Right.
And I even know it. Like, I'm just like, you know, I'm just like, right? Like, I'm just a crotchety dude right now,
Yeah.
but I need some help. And she did. She helped me, right? You know, but that awareness that, hey, something has happened, something is in my environment, and it might even be this. It's usually not the thing that makes you mad. It's usually the things that's led up to that. You know what I'm saying? And so you got to be like, what's caused? And as soon as it happened, I was like, dude, I'm tired. My body is fatigued. I get grumpy when I'm tired, and I also get hangry. So it was like, that's my problem. I went home and took a nap. Guess what? I'm right as rain.
Yeah, right. I love that.
Just a little, you know,
right
little adjustment, man. Well, dude, hey, we're 10 minutes past, but dude, what a great topic you led us on today. Because I'm walking. You helped me make sense of my yesterday, and I'm walking in today with a little bit more understanding. So I appreciate you leading to the topic today. That's what I'm closing with today. Is, man, I want you to start identifying the sources of your attitude, because Martinez is right. The things that you're experiencing, the people you're around, the stuff that's going on with you, it's affecting your attitude. And I think if you will just take a moment to pause and say, wait a minute, how am I feeling? You know, and here's another good question. How would others feel? In what way would other people feel towards me right now, the way that I'm acting, right? Like, is this going to be something where they, you know, am I not the right person to be around right now, or am I somebody that is, you know, trying to be encouraging, inspiring? It's almost a self-awareness deal.
Yeah, and then another question is like, is this attitude worth sharing with someone else? Like, you know,
Yeah.
or maybe you just said that, but you know, is your attitude? Do you want to? Would you give this the source of your attitude to your child, to your spouse, and walk away knowing that
Yeah.
it's going to have a desirable outcome without you having to get in and manipulate it? Will the source of your attitude be able to stand by itself, and you leave a year from now, or a week from now, or a day from, or whatever, however duration it is, and know that, hey, that source will frame my child, my loved one, or my situation the right way without me having to manipulate it. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
Or, you know, you don't. Let me tell you, if you have a source that keeps that has you staying up all night and working overtime, and has your back on out just to try to make sure you know, the attitude of what you want it comes out to the way you want.
Yeah.
then that's the wrong source.
Yeah,
It's not sustainable. It's
that's
not
true.
sustainable. And so, yeah. So consider your source. Yeah, absolutely.
I love
And
it.
that source creates the culture of your team. So that
Absolutely.
your team does not live a a double standard.
Yeah,
I mean, we all need a help. We need accountability. That kind of stuff. But that that right source is is it's just right.
it's
You know.
just right. And when it's
So
right, it's right. And so I'm actually, as we close, I'm going to give the final word to TikTok. Our friend Becky Martinez is on here, and she just said a lot of great things to think about, but she just said something I thought was so good. Ownership of attitude and knowledge of life's surroundings. That one word means so much because if I own it, that means I'm responsible for it.
amen.
Great,
Amen.
great, great word, Becky. That's
Thank you,
awesome.
Becky.
Martina said, thank you. I've got to, tell what, tomorrow, here I am. Let my yes be yes. This weekend, I need to get the right plug in to loop our conversation into TikTok because there's still times where it's just like, Jason, what are you doing? You're just staring into space, like what's going on? But the conversation's in my ears, so that way there's no feedback. So I'm going to get the right tool to route that into TikTok, so that way there's the full context of every conversation. But again, Martinez, thank you. Lucian, I had to hop off here, but we appreciate him hopping on. I think today he's got a lot going on, so it was a day of just listening and learning.
Understandable.
Which, hey, I love that. I love
That's
that.
all right.
You got to
That's all
show
right.
up and learn, baby. I love it. So, stream, you all have a wonderful day. Be great. Be blessed. We'll see you tomorrow, 7 a.m. We'll be talking more about some good stuff, y'all. Good stuff. So, we'll catch you later.